the youngest head coach in the entire NFL, Mike Macdonald, goes to the Seattle Seahawks. He leaves the Baltimore Ravens in that insanely good defense that he helped build, and he comes to Seattle to try to build the Legion of Boom 2.0, to build something special in Seattle again. We are out with the old. Pete Carroll, the oldest coach in the NFL, 72 years old, and we're in with the new. The youngest head coach in the NFL at 36 years old is Mike Macdonald. And he is a unique one. He spent 8 out of his 9 last years on the Baltimore staff, the last 2 as the defensive coordinator. He is young, remember, 36 years old. He graduated from UGA with a finance degree in 2010, got a master's in sports management in 2013 from UGA as well. So that was only like 10, 11 years ago. And now he is, after going through a little bit of the ringer in the NFL, but not as much as most people, he is the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And he's here to build something special, is the hope. And the Seahawks gave him a 6-year deal. A 6-year deal is no joke in the NFL, especially for a guy getting his first job. But I think it just highlights the importance of patience. The Seahawks proved the importance of patience in this whole process. They pretty much waited longer than everybody but the Commanders, of course. And I think the Commanders, unfortunately, their patience was hoping to land Ben Johnson from the Lions, but he decided to stay with Detroit. And I was very nervous that the Seahawks' patience was going to lead to the same thing, is going after Mike Macdonald, and he was going to decide to stay in Baltimore, and we would have been stuck almost feeling slight regret on letting Pete Carroll go early, because then you might have to go get Mike Vrabel, and if that's not what they wanted somebody younger, I believe. John Schneider said this is kind of his era now, right? Even Pete Carroll said that in his exit interview thing, his exit press conference, whatever you want to call it. He said, I'm excited to see John do your thing. The whole personnel, the whole decision-making process went through Pete Carroll and John Schneider. Now it's going just to John Schneider, and he gets to pick his coach, and he gets to, pick a staff with him and pick personnel on his own. So I didn't think he wanted to go with somebody like Mike Vrabel or a Ron Rivera or somebody that's been too deep into head coaching and, Bill Belichick and Jim Harbaugh. I don't think that's what Schneider wanted anyways. I know Harbaugh would have been a phenomenal hire, and Bill Belichick, right, was some of the greatest coaches we've ever seen, but that's not what he wanted. I think he wanted somebody young to work with, somebody that's supposed to be the next big thing. And I think that's what's interesting with Mike Macdonald. He's, like the Sean McVay on the defensive side. In his, mid-30s, everyone's talking about how amazing it is. You don't know how that's going to translate as a head coach, but on one side, it worked out pretty well for the Rams and Sean McVay, so I'm hoping it works out this way too. But I was really concerned that this might not happen, and we're going to sit there and say, should we have just kept Pete Carroll for a year? Should we just have waited it out? But it turns out, no, it's all good. I did feel that way for a while, but this was the 10 out of 10 hire that I believed was the right move. I like going young in the NFL. I have leaned towards liking to go offense, but at the same time, this is like a defensive guru type of coach. And 6 years means they're going to be patient. They understand he's young. They understand this team's young, and there's a lot to move forward with. And this team is young on the defensive side especially. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see who becomes the offensive coordinator of this team. I'm hoping that drops in the next few days. We got to get a good offensive coordinator, get that offense moving. On the defensive side, Mike Macdonald is going to hire somebody that he knows well from Baltimore or around the league to help him build this defense. Devin Witherspoon's 23 years old. Tariq Woolen's 24. Boye Mafe's 25. Jordan Brooks, 26. Derek Hall, 22. Uchenna Nwasu's 27. Draymond Jones is 27. We might bring back somebody like Leonard Williams. You have guys like from last year, the Mike Morrises of the world, the Jarek Reeds from the world. You're going to get some people in the draft this year. You never know who else comes up and shows up big. This is a young defense. This is a young team. There are some older pieces, obviously, of Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, and, Jordan Love's a little bit older. They're not old, but you know what I mean. There are a lot of young, talented players on this team and a lot of middle-aged. Like I said, I believe Leonard Williams is like 29 if we re-sign him, or he might be 30, but it's not that old. I was just talking about the young guys, and it's exciting to see what they can do with those pieces. And let's talk about the Ravens for a second. And the reason I want to talk about the Ravens is because he led a historic defense. Now, I know what the first thoughts are going to be. Well, this doesn't correlate to the Seahawks. Look at the Seahawks roster versus the Ravens roster, which could be very true. Don't get me wrong. We can't take everything about his statistics, the defense's statistics in Baltimore, and equate it exactly to the Seahawks. And I totally agree with that because it's different when you have Marlon Humphreys and Patrick Queen. Okay, those are just two names, but you know what I mean. Those guys aren't flying with him right now and plopping into our defense. We have who we have, they have who they have. But he is, and there's a reason he was so highly coveted, right? There's a reason that the Seahawks even themselves decided, we'll wait till after the Super Bowl if we have to wait for this guy. Because he is supposed to be that good. And if you go listen to or read about stories within the organizations of what they believe about Mike Macdonald, is that he is one of the most hyper-focused people that anybody will see. He's always watching film. He's always locked in. He is 100% committed. And I think that's obviously, like any other coach, that's obviously very important. The Ravens defense generated 397 total QB pressures this season under Mike Macdonald. It's the most recorded in the PFF era since 2006. Let's add to that. They had the defensive triple crown, okay? That's what Bleacher Report's calling it. But I'm just going to tell you, they led in three major categories that we've never seen before. They had 60 sacks on the season. In 17 games. That's a lot. 60 sacks was first in the entire NFL. 16.5 points per game allowed. First in the NFL. In this era of the NFL, to only allow 16.5 points per game is insane. You're essentially allowing 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Well, most teams are allowing in the 20s. Some teams allow in the mid-20s. 16.5 points per game. And 31 takeaways. First in the NFL. And they are the first team in NFL history to lead all three of those categories. So yes, it's a big deal. And a lot goes into coaching for that too. On top of that, the Ravens beat the NFC West last year. They beat them 4-0. 4-0. They beat the 49ers badly. They beat the Seahawks badly. They beat the Cardinals, and they beat the Rams. We're talking about a division that has a lot of good coaches. Jonathan Gannon's new last year, which this is what I'll get to that in a second, but you can't judge people off their first year. Jonathan Gannon, people might be like, oh, he's not that good. That's how you're going to feel about Mike Macdonald if they if we had a reboot and a rebuild. That's how first years go sometimes. So don't judge Jonathan Gannon off year one. He's supposed to be a good coach. He helped build, in Philadelphia really well. That's why he got hired. Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. Sean McVay and Pete Carroll this year was our coach. And the Ravens went 4-0 against those coaches and forced 9 turnovers in those games. So, yes, their defense is special in a lot of ways. And I'm just going to go through a couple of the teams that they held to these amount of points. They held the Texans to 9 points and to 10 points in the playoffs. 9 week 1 of the NFL season and 10 points in the playoffs. They held the Browns to 3 points. They held the Lions to 6 points. The Detroit Lions, yes. They held the Seahawks to 3 points. They held the Chargers to 10. Jacksonville to 7 points. They held the crazy Dolphins offense to 19. They won 56-19. They beat the 49ers 33-19. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the week that Brock Purdy threw, 4 picks, if I'm not mistaken? Yes, it was. 0 touchdowns and 4 picks. And they got another pick off Sam Darnold. So they had 5 interceptions against the San Francisco 49ers. The defense had 5 interceptions. And then last week against the Chiefs. Now, they did lose in the AFC Championship to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs had 17 points in the first half. They had 0 in the second half. 0. If Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense, I'm not going to pin it all on Lamar. If Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense played just like a little bit better, like actually showed up in the second half. And they didn't fumble on the 1 yard line, which was just tough for them. The fumble in the end zone, pretty much. We're talking about the Ravens are probably in the Super Bowl. They held Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs at 0 points in the second half. So no, that game was not on the defense at all. If you give up 17 points to the Chiefs, you should be able to win that game. You should be very proud about only allowing 17 points to the Kansas City Chiefs. So overall, I'm hyped, right? This is an amazing hiring. And I'm going to go through some of Twitter too and what people are saying. I asked you guys on Twitter to pretty much tell me what you're thinking. And I'm going to answer some of these questions and some of these thoughts. One thing that I want to add to all this is, if you love Seattle sports, we do have a Seattle page. It's Seattle on tap. It's all Seahawks. We have a Mariners page, Mariners on tap, and a Washington Huskies page, Huskies on tap. Go to the description. I have everything listed there. I have an NBA page if you want to check that out. We have a Seattle page. Our podcast is on the Seattle on tap page, and there's a podcast dropping tomorrow about Mike Macdonald. So check all those things out, and please support the brand. Now, I'm going to look at a couple of these comments and answer them, okay? I asked people, give me the truth. With the length of the contract, this is Audie Mason. With the length of the contract, shows that they plan on giving him time to rebuild the team, and I think Geno is gone. I wonder this too, okay? 6 years does mean they're giving him a chance. Now, I don't know if they're giving him a chance just because he's young and saying, here's 6 years, or if they're giving him a chance in 6 years because they think it's time to rebuild, and we're going to get rid of Geno Smith. We're moving off anybody that's older like Bobby Wagner, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, maybe even a Tyler Lockett, anyone like that, and we're starting fresh. I don't necessarily think they're ready to do that because this is not only Mike Macdonald's first year as head coach. It's also John Schneider's first year away from Pete Carroll and like doing his thing, right? And they talked about that. It's like his time. So I'd be shocked if they try to like break it down. I think they're going to do what they've done the last few years, which is stick with Geno, maybe maybe draft a QB to go behind Geno and just kind of let this do like a mini rebuild, right? Like we're not that bad while we're rebuilding, kind of like the Steelers have been doing. And you can say that gets you stuck in the middle. I don't think it does if you have the right head coach and the right GM. Crack Bass said, we got the top candidate, much pressure to achieve something in the next 2 to 3 years. High hopes on him though. And that's one big thing. The pressure's on. You are the biggest name. You're taking over an organization like Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers. You're taking on one of the most high expectation jobs in America. So good luck. But he was the best candidate. This is what I'm excited about. Here's two of them. Mason Hummer. I'm ready to watch the LOB 2.0 with a defensive-minded coach. Our D is going to be scary. We have so much young talent. He gets to develop it. And we also have some amazing vets. We going to be in the Super Bowl bound in a few years. I also can't wait to see what we do at QB. Agreed. And Derek said, I think having a defensive genius like Macdonald is the best case scenario for us. Even with Ben Johnson in the pool, our defense is super young and has so much potential. I think Macdonald is going to be fully unlocked at 10 out of 10 higher. A lot of these are 10 out of 10 higher, excited about him, excited about the future, and I agree. Now, the big thing is, everyone's asking also, who's going to be the offensive coordinator? I don't know if they're going to go get Mike Kafka or if they're going to, I'm because I don't know how much John is just going to make this decision or if Mike is going to have a big say with him. That's where the biggest question is. There's obviously some negative comments here and there. Everything for Work says this guy's unproven coordinator and will most likely be bounced in less than 3 years. It's a shame the teams in the media keep drooling over these guys while ignoring proving winning coaches. Now, that's such an easy thing to say because it's like a 50-50 shot, right? I could sit here and tell you, Mike Vrabel's a more sure hire. I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, he's been a coach before and been in the playoffs. So, yeah, technically you're right. He's unproven. And if he's bounced in 3 years, you're going to be right. It's so much easier to predict a coach going to suck and be bounced in 3 years than predicting the next good coach. So while I agree that it is a possibility, technically speaking, let's not think like that. He's going to be a good coach. That's how I see it. And it is the best hire out there for the unproven coaches. Forget the ones that you like, the Bill Belichick, the Jim Harbaugh, the Mike Vrabel, the whoever it may be. Mike Vrabel, somebody like Eric Bieniemy, if he wanted to get a job. I don't know if he's ever going to be a head coach. It's shocking. But I guess I don't know if he likes to be a coordinator. Teams just don't want to hire him. I don't know if he interviews bad, whatever it may be, but I'm just surprised he still doesn't have a job. Yeah, it's a good hire. So let's be happy. Let's be excited. And like I keep saying, if you love Seattle sports, check out Seattle on Tap, because I'll be doing all NFL on this channel, not just Seahawks. I'm going to do other stuff too. But any big news like this, I'll still do Seahawks. But Seattle on Tap is where you got to go to check out all Seahawks. Mariners on Tap for Mariners. Huskies on Tap for Huskies. I have an NBA page. Check them all out. Link in the description. Love y'all. Peace.